Hello, everyone. Well, another episode of No Tax Allowed. Another episode where I'm the host, so not gonna be the best episode ever. But at least today I have a guest, and the guest is Tomaž Zaman, who is making a router. Cue the music. Well, hello everybody. I am Bigpod, and as I said before, I have a guest with me. Say hello to Tomaž Zaman.
Hello.
So maybe you should tell a bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Tomaž, and I come from the remote region of Prekmurje, which is the most distant / rural area of Slovenia, distant from the capital. So I live pretty much on the border with Hungary. My wife is from here, so once she gave birth to our twins, we moved here from central region where she had a job and I was studying. And yeah, from here I started my own business, which at the time was web development. That is like more than 15 years now. So I've been in web development waters until 2022. I founded a company called Codable in Denmark, actually, with my partner, and we were focused on WordPress outsourcing. So we built a WordPress workforce marketplace, so to speak. So if you had a WordPress website and you needed someone to work on it, or you were just or you needed somebody to build it from scratch, even, or anything in between, or just small bugs for that matter, then you would come to Codable and you would find somebody to help you out. In fact, the company is still going strong. I'm just not part of it anymore because 10 years into it, I kind of realized there's other stuff I want to do with my life. So yeah, I moved on to making hardware and a router in particular. So yeah, that's in a nutshell.
So let's just go into the router. Today I didn't find any interesting news. So let's just tell me a bit about how did you start on that? Like, why did you start on that?
On the router.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite happy with what routers can do and what they do in terms of that they're often quite crippled down by manufacturers or locked down, or I've over the years I've kind of built myself a home lab down in the basement, and when I got my telecom or ISP router that came with the fiber connection that I ordered, it turned out it's total trash. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is trash. So I was like, okay, I want something better. So I called to the support and I said, can I get something better? And they said, well, you are getting something better because you're a business customer. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is the best that as a business customer for gigabit optic fiber, this is the best you can do. A router that, probably costs $15 to manufacture because it's just, trash. And yeah, and then I was like, okay, can I, because this particular router came with an SFP module, gigabit SFP module, and I was like, can I move it into my own router? I built a machine, like it was based on Supermicro motherboard with SFP ports and whatnot, and an Atom CPU, and they said, no, you cannot do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it anyway. I didn't tell them I'll do it anyway. I thought to myself. So it took me about 3 months, but I eventually succeeded because it turns out that this SFP module has a it's not a bug, it's a feature. If you move it to your own gear, it doesn't connect to the switch, to the ISP on the other side, because it has no serial number on it to authenticate with the ISP, right?
Yeah.
So I discovered that once you plug it into the actual router that it ships with, then the router will upload through a non-standard port, non-standard protocol, non-standard anything, but it will upload this serial number to the SFP module, and then it will be able to connect. So basically, I wrote a replay attack script that I first of all, obviously, I captured all the bits that went through. I created a replay script, and then I, uploaded it to my own router, and it would always run when the router was turned on. So the replay attack would basically fool the SFP module into authenticating, right? And this kind of started or ignited some hate for the routers that are online. No, sorry, not online. That you can purchase. So obviously, the big or the natural step was to buy a bunch of Ubiquiti gear, which I did. I don't have it anymore because it looks pretty on every, like, the UI is pretty, the gear itself is pretty, like their industrial design is top level. I can't blame them for that, right? But for my needs, I needed IGMP snooping, and their routers didn't support it. And I've seen like thousands upon thousands of pages on their support, and yeah, there was like they didn't bother implementing it. It's not a big deal. The IGMP snooping is not that difficult to implement or taxing on the hardware, right? So I was like, okay. And then while buying their gear, I bought like 6, 7 articles of their gear. Like none of them had any meaningful user manual. There was no support. There was nothing, right? It just shows, to me at least, a lack of respect towards their customers. I mean, Ubiquiti gear is not, it's not the most expensive, but it's not cheap either. So, how can you not, like, I spent several thousand euros on it. I I sold it. I was like, I won't deal with a company that doesn't respect its customers. So that's, yeah. And then I looked elsewhere, for gear, and I couldn't find, in routers in particular, I couldn't find anything that would be like, yes, this. And I thought to myself, fuck it, I'll do it myself.
Well, a bit of a backstory. Me and him have a same ISP. And we
Yes.
live in wildly different parts of Slovenia. So that should tell you a lot about how big Slovenia is and how big of an area ISPs provide, which is the whole area, everyone.
Yeah.
Except some really local ones, but those nobody mentions. And I also have a gigabit connection. Well, I was once told by them that I cannot have a switch.
Okay.
Yes, I have basically their IPTV, and I was like, and it wasn't connecting. It wasn't my fault. I was doing everything right. It was on the trunk and everything, and they were like, "You cannot have a switch. That's not a part of networking equipment." The guy on the telephone line wanted to convince me that switch isn't a normal networking equipment.
Yeah.
Let's just say I got it working.
Yeah.
It wasn't more than a year when a technician came to replace my router because it broke. And I was like, okay, what he's gonna say? Because he can see everything when he plugs it into his Duda. He can see everything that is happening on that switch. Like, or on that router. It's like, you have a switch, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you have it? Like,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of devices. Oh, cool. Tell me about it a bit. Like, and we were like talking technical stuff about why I have a switch. Like, why did I go so technically deep that I have a switch? Not on the side of that is wrong, but why would a normal user have a switch?
Yeah. I'll listen. I'll give them props for one thing. first, their connection is, at least for me, perfect. It's
Yes.
I had in 4 years since almost 4 years. I had one downtime for 2 hours because their central in the nearest city went down for whatever reason. Though that's the only literal only outage I've had with them.
Yeah.
That's that plus I must commend them. Everything that they do does, apart from this shitty, but this is not their fault, communication between the router and the SFP module in my case, right?
Yeah.
But in like the module itself is perfectly done according to standards. So everything that they do, their their what is it, the IPTV traffic, the VoIP traffic, everything is according to standards, and they will not tell you. Obviously, you
Yeah.
have to dig this out for yourself. There's no manual for
But
it.
you can.
But but you can, and everything they really do follow the standards by the dot. And this is
Yeah.
which is why I haven't switched. I could switch to another provider, but in reality, apart from this shitty router that they give you by default, the rest has been flawless, honestly.
I had for a while, we had a really shitty copper network based on old telephone lines, and it was shitty, and we were basically the ones paying the price because that network basically chewed through our modems. Like every 6 months we had to replace a modem because that modem died.
Yeah.
And every 6 months, all I had to call, tell the issue, and couple of days we had a new modem.
Mm-hmm.
And one day they actually came on a Saturday to see where the issue lies, because they had to, I don't know how many hours they had to spend here, I forget, but basically 2 guys, one at the closest central and one here, and they went through I don't know what kind of checks, and after that it was once a year.
Yeah.
and then they said, we're gonna do a fiber network where you are. And since then I had only one modem die, and that one router die, and that one was from before the network, so it was already probably a bit chewed up anyway.
Yeah, this is the mentality that I honestly hate. Like, let's give people the cheapest shit we can find that still somewhat works, and then just throw it out of the window when it stops working and replace it with a new one because it's cheaper that way.
Yes, but like here the problem was that they needed to basically build the whole fiber network.
Oh yeah, of course.
We didn't have anything. There wasn't a fiber network even to the closest fiber we had was to the central, which was at my old school. One village away. That was the only fiber connection, and I think they even had to build up that to have that kind of usage we have now, which is gigabit internet.
Yeah, for us it also came very late. Like a year before that, they were digging the trenches to bring it to where I live, because I'm surrounded with literal 10 kilometers of woods all around this village. So they had to dig basically to get fiber here, and I'm happy they did.
Yeah, I am in village, so I have like houses around, but I still have 50 meters in any direction is a forest.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, they don't bring the immediacy that something like Novo Mesto or Murska Sobota or Ljubljana brings.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
yeah, it's it isn't the people who build this stuff and who manage this stuff that's their problem, but those who have the wallets and stuff.
Yeah, true.
But that's a problem in every company. You can't say it isn't.
No, absolutely.
So you're building your own router. You made an interesting decision on a particular hardware piece, the CPU. Why did you go with an ARM CPU instead of an x86, which is what everybody would have wanted for some reason?
I mean, why did Apple go with ARM stuff? It's working out for them pretty well, doesn't it? It's a bit too much for me to compare ourselves to Apple, obviously. But the fact of the matter is, x86 is a general purpose CPU. It can do everything, but it's not the best at any particular thing, right?
Yes.
That is the. It's not an issue. That's what it was built for, as a general purpose
Yes.
CPU. And what the consequence of that is that, it's not the best for networking. So if you want to, process large amounts of data, you need a fast one. Like we're building a 10 gigabit router, and for 10 gigabit, N95 Intel CPU isn't gonna cut it, because I hear this all the time and it fucking pisses me off. It's like, you should have just used N95. No, N95 does not process 10 gigabit traffic, not even close, right? It cannot.
Yeah.
But we chose NXPs in particular because I've done a lot of research, really. Like, NXP is the leader in this. Like, even Cisco stuff, people don't know. Cisco uses NXP CPUs in some of their routers because they have what is called hardware offloading. So it's hardware processing of network packets, which is much faster, much more efficient, and it's built for that purpose. It's like trying to have a car and haul a tree with it. It can do the job. It will do the job. Most likely, it will get scratched. But you have a tractor. Like, just take a tractor to haul that tree, right? You don't need a car for that. So that's the logic here. It's not science fiction. It's nothing complex. I get why people are, like, most of the comments on my YouTube videos, I get why people are not upset. I get a lot of support as well, but the vocal minority, if you will, is comfortable with x86. They know how to use it. They ARM, for them, for a lot of them, not everybody obviously, is like this unknown box that they are afraid to, in a manner of speaking. But honestly, like, you can run Linux on an x86 or on ARM just fine. It works. It's like it's not that big of a deal.
I didn't understand the first time I read your comments, the wish for an Intel CPU or for AMD CPU. It didn't make sense to me, because this is supposed to be a sort of appliance. ARM is an appliance CPU. Literally, It's made for that. Apple is, in my opinion, the only company that can make ARM work on desktop for most cases, because they have end-to-end control of their software and hardware. They're the only ones who can make it work.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't get it, because, and I'm gonna tie it to Ubiquiti. They use ARM CPUs. And there's stuff, okay, it isn't setting rich and all that, and I'm not gonna, but it works, and it works well. Like, if you're one of those who just need to plug things in and set up basic things, it works really well, and everything will work top notch.
Like, so, you have tiers, right? The cheap garbage in terms of networking gear has MIPS processors that are garbage.
Yes.
Then anybody uses ARM. And then home users or home labbers, some, not all, like to tinker with their old or new x86 boxes, right? Which is fine. Absolutely no judgment. Fine. I have the handful of them in my basement that are being used all the time. I'm not trying to hate, but if you ask me, in 10 years, this story will be much different. Not our story, but ARM. So the x86 has 40 years of legacy.
Yes.
And is and just because of that, it's super inefficient. And I doubt it will ever be able to strip off this ballast. I highly doubt, which means it will never be as efficient as ARM can be.
Yes.
Because you can pick and choose the IP blocks that you need and build something really efficient together.
Based on what I've read, Intel AMD are trying to make a sort of like cleaner version of x86. They had some meetings that were mediated by Linus Torvalds of Linux fame.
Good
So
luck.
clearly they're at least trying something to get something. I don't know. How to say this? An x86 V2.
Yeah.
Basically a desktop architecture.
You know what?
That's
You
with
know.
server architecture, but at the same time, things like RISC-V, things like ARM are very much on the rise.
Yeah.
But they are not there yet. Like things like if you look at the new Snapdragon laptops,
Trash.
they have the exact same problem as every other ARM system you try to boot on for desktop.
Yeah.
You need to have a specialized image if you're talking
Yeah.
about Linux. Specialized image. You need to have a device tree, and automatically it makes it so much harder for somebody to run that system that if it isn't strictly Windows or something vertically integrated like an Apple device.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, they are
they're
struggling,
still
but
growing pains.
they'll succeed eventually.
Yes.
You know what would be my wildest dream come true? If I'm a gamer, I'm a very passionate gamer when I have the time. I don't always have the time, but I grew up gaming. I still game when I can. If Tim Cook and Jensen Huang met, kissed, and made up, and then Nvidia and Apple would work together nicely, then I would sell my PC and just connect an external Nvidia GPU on my Mac and game that way, and that would be chef's kiss.
Well, there are a few things missing for me. There, like I am not a fan of Apple. Like their operating system to me is tiers below anything else. I cannot deal with their operating system, macOS and iPadOS and iOS. They're just not my
Okay.
my cup of tea. And that's they make good hardware. Like
Yeah.
they are a hardware company. I want them to leave the software part to someone else because they make great hardware. Like if they partnered with somebody who knows how to do software, it would make their systems far more palatable, some more for me to be willing to pay their high price point.
I will dispute you on this on two points. Apple is no longer more expensive than your Windows. You get a
Yes.
Windows laptop with same specs. Apple is exactly the same price. There's no. They don't get me wrong. They do have their own issues. Like if you want to add more RAM to it, it's too much. Honestly, I do know. I do confirm that or realize. However, like I use a lot of Apple devices, and I couldn't disagree more honestly on this with you. I think their operating system is much more suitable for my needs. So as I said, I'm a web developer. I used to be a web developer for 15 to almost 20 years really. All my servers are Linux. So the fact I can use the same command line, same commands pretty much, same interface, plus it looks good, plus there are things in one spot. For example, in Windows, I want to change something. Like you have some old shit that still creeps up, and some like I deal with I have both, so don't like if somebody's listening, well, Apple fanboy. No, I use both on daily basis. I have a PC and a Mac. I work on both. I use both all the time. I use my PC for gaming as well. Mac, unfortunately, not. And I'm talking to you through a Mac OS right now, actually. So I've plus, yeah, I'm in on the whole ecosystem. So for me, like all my relatives are now on Macs. Guess what happened when they asked me, Tomaž, I need a new computer, right? And they don't game for the most part. What do you suggest? And I was like, do a MacBook Air. Like I've probably done 5 to 6 recommendations, and they went through them. You know what happened? After I showed them how to use the system, the phone calls stopped. I no more support. You need to delete something, you drag it in trash. Easy. Install it, just copy it into application. Like things are much shorter for
Yes.
less friction. Less friction is what I would say.
They are way better designed than something like Windows. I'm a Linux user myself, as viewers know, so it's all Unix today.
Okay.
But and I run Windows and Linux, and I do get a lot of sass for being a Windows gamer. That's,
You can't be anything else but Windows gamer. I'm a
well,
Windows gamer.
well, you can play games on Linux, but as I've said many times, I just don't want that tiny bit of friction that comes with running Linux for games, because when I try to game, I'm gonna game. I'm not gonna be faffing with my settings. Simple as that. That's my thing, and my job is faffing with settings on a Linux server, on a that Linux server, on that Linux server. I'm not gonna be doing that on my Linux desktop. And yes, for my daily use browsers, I use Linux, and ironically, I use GNOME. So I should be very much at home in macOS environments. And yes, I can use it, but it just I don't know. Everything feels a bit wrong. Okay.
Look, I'll give you an example.
You probably have to get used to it. And yes, when I open up a terminal, I feel like at home, because what's the difference between a Mac OS? Couple of directories are different, and that's it. And
No, absolutely. But like, it's not just the term. Like, I'll give you an example, right? So I needed to go for holidays, and I needed to work on holidays, and I needed a laptop, which I gave my old one to one of my kids because I'm mostly stationary now here in the office. So I bought a MacBook Air. That was last year actually. I needed some files, so on my Mac Studio I just dragged them via AirDrop, and I was ready to go to holidays. Like all you do on a new MacBook Air, you open it, enter your name, start using it, right? Don't get me wrong, it has its own issues. Every system has its own issues, but I'm saying that there's so little friction that's why it goes out of my way, right? I don't know. I guess, this I encountered this today. Actually, I was working heavily on both machines. However, I have two monitors, but they're connected to both machines, right? So I swap between.
Yeah.
And mental jump that you have to do between keyboard fucking shortcuts, right? You can either you know, I have because the Mac has command next to the space bar, right?
Yeah.
And that is its primary modifier, yeah. And Windows has control. So whenever I switch from one machine to the other, I always mess it up, and you have to get into the zone or habit. But if you constantly switch between one another, I do it 20 times a day, right? So it's like horrible.
Honestly, I've been looking at the Mac Mini, the cheap mini PC, and because one of the things I have been doing over the last few months is I've been moving more and more to the remote work of everything I can run off of a server. Yeah. So my laptop is essentially just a client device for most part. Except like I do a couple of things, like I record on it, I open a browser. Everything else is done through something like Moonlight or something like that onto the VMs on my servers. Mm-hmm. And so that Mac Mini would be perfect device for me, and it's like comparably cheap for just to throw on a desk and connect the two displays onto it and have it. And I've been looking at it, and I've been thinking about just making that purchase, because why not?
Do it.
Currently, the money is the problem, not the wheel.
Okay.
that's the part that is always the problem.
Of course.
So, but why did you decide to go for the YouTube side of doing the videos on the making of the router?
A lesser known fact about me, which kind of broad public probably doesn't know, is that I actually wanted to be a teacher. I'm not by formal education. I'm almost an engineer for wood technology, and I'm saying almost because I never finished my diploma. I got the rest done pretty much, but never finished my diploma.
Well,
And then I started working.
Well, I'm an almost information technology engineer.
Okay, yeah.
There is a file on my computer that is 75% done that I'm supposed to do by May.
Okay.
So
you can
yeah.
like do it while you still can, or
Yes.
have the time and will, because then at some point I gave up, honestly. Plus I've never been so at the end of the college I got kids pretty fast, and I started my own web development company, which kind of grew out of a hobby, so I never really needed to go back. Someday, maybe. I hope. I do plan someday, but not anytime soon. So the thing was, I wanted to be a teacher, so I actually my first choice was going for to teach physics in elementary schools. So I did it for half a year. I went to the faculty. I don't know how it's called, like where you become a teacher.
Yeah.
But educational faculty or whatever.
Faculty of education, I think it is something like that.
Something like that. So, but after half a year, I quit because I just didn't feel it. Not so the desire never went away, but I didn't feel the program gave me anything. Plus, my schoolmates were not the best. Unlike my wood technology faculty, they were the best. We were the best crew. We had an awesome time. We went up partying. We studied together. Like, it was great. The people at the faculty for education were not that great. Plus, the program was fucking boring as hell. Like, I didn't like. There was just a ton of reports to do. I mean, now that I think back, of course, teachers need to write reports, but that part I honestly just hated. So YouTube didn't come as a consequence of that, but that desire of mine to pass knowledge forward or to teach people has never completely gone away. But I started for a different reason, really. I was okay, this is really personal. I was looking for a purpose, for my purpose, which might sound odd, but that was at the time that I literally just sold my previous company, so Codable, the WordPress one. I sold it, and then I was, I had some money of that, transaction. I had all the time in the world, really. I didn't have a job. I was out of the company voluntarily. Don't get me wrong. There's no bad blood between me and my co-founder, who's still running the company. So we had, good 10 years going, and we're still in touch. But I was like, okay, about three months after I sold that company, I was starting to get bored. There's only so long you can game before you get bored or do nothing with yourself, and that's just not me, right? It's not. I want to be a contributing member to society. I wanna not only contributing. I like moving mountains. I like making a big difference. It's just who I am. In Codable, when I left, we had like, I don't know, 50,000 clients across the world and thousands of experts / developers that offer their services through the portal. I still go to WordPress conferences. I have no work in WordPress. I don't do with WordPress anymore. I don't know what's going on. Honestly, I don't even care what's going on there. But I do care about
nothing great has been going on in WordPress.
I'm slightly lying because I'm trying to avoid that. I do know what's going on.
Yes, yes. Let's leave that.
Let's
There's
leave
been
it
an
at that.
episode
Yeah,
of that, so
yeah, yeah, I know.
I'm not
Yeah,
not a fan of the entire thing. It's a bad
me neither.
showing of open source, bad showing of open source,
Exactly.
and like I get you. Like I was laid off last year or yeah
Okay.
last year, and I was for or like 2 years ago, yeah, and I was for I was without a job for 1 year,
Yeah.
and I was yeah first it started with gaming, then at one point I was bored, so I started to contribute to a Linux distro,
Mm-hmm.
and I got in on the ground floor. I'm great friends with the maintainers, and I still use the distro.
Yeah.
And I was
Which
like,
distro?
probably don't know it. It's Universal Blue
Mm.
Bluefin. It's based on Fedora Silverblue.
Okay. Cool.
So basically, it's everything Fedora Silverblue can't be
Mhm.
because they have the Fedora limitations. We don't have those, or they don't have those.
Mhm.
I still have to sometimes get used to correcting myself.
Yeah.
So I was there on the ground floor. I really really build up from first basic ISOs to really big. Now it's like we have a gaming distro that is like de facto replacement for SteamOS. Maybe you heard of Bazite.
Yes, I've heard of Bazite.
Same team.
Okay.
That's the Universal Blue is the main project, while Bazite, Bluefin, and Aurora are the like different sub distros within that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, basically we built out the whole group. First ISOs. I think I was also one of the people who basically got the name Universal Blue. It was called UBlue for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we needed to make an ISO, and I was like, I need to put a name, so just put Universal Blue ISO,
Mm-hmm.
like because it was a universal ISO, like,
Yeah.
and it stayed that way.
Yeah.
And like
Good.
I still have on GitHub there is still like I was forced kind of by the creator of the project to put into my bio Universal Blue contributor emeritus.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and like that was my laid off project, and
Okay.
only
Yeah.
reason I stopped is because I'm already involved in so many things. I have a job now. I have a podcast. I had to cut something off because I was clearly not contributing to it too much, except in some opinion roles and that. So I said that it's time for me to let go of one of the things.
Mate, try having kids.
Yeah.
that is the ultimate time and money sink.
Actually, I didn't find you first on YouTube.
Okay.
I first found you on Twitter when it was still called Twitter.
Yes.
I think the first mention of your router when you were still like completely just talking about wanting to do it on Twitter was where I found you first time, and I was like, okay, I was like interesting, and then it was so long time I didn't know anything about you, and then one time I just found you on the recommended feed on the video how to hack your router.
Yeah, like
and
everybody else, I guess.
and the interest grew from there. Okay, I do try to at least watch many tech YouTubers from Slovenia because well,
Yeah,
I like to support
Mm-hmm.
Slovenian because there is not many of Slovenian tech
Nah,
YouTubers.
of course not.
I probably should make a Slovenian channel because well, it's a completely unsaturated market.
Yeah.
So where should we go from
But it's
here?
also that's why I
A
like
small market.
yeah, I've done some video in Slovenian, like back my first couple of videos were in Slovene, but I mean they did have some success, but nowhere near like if you do it in English and do it
Yeah.
worldwide, it's just it doesn't even compare. I mean Slovenia has like what 2 million people altogether, of which there are maybe 200,000 that are online even, of which there are, 10,000 that are technically savvy that care about all this.
Yeah.
And it takes and that's your whole market, right? So it's
Yeah. The
I
fact
don't.
that Ogrodia made it is actually pretty good.
Agreed.
For those who don't know, Ogrodia is a Slovenian tech podcast about mostly programming and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
So
and I participate there as a
yeah,
camera guy. Not the I don't like we have someone that does the actual recording and editing. I usually take the photos that we use to share with the media, and I hosted the last episode that just went live like the other day. I hosted it actually, but it's in Slovenian. It's a pretty successful podcast. I'm quite proud of Otto. I was invited to go along and help along, and I happily said yes because the guys there are just brilliant. Like
yeah.
each of the guys in the team is like, we have a lot of fun. We always meet hours before we record it because I have to drive for 2 hours to get there, and then we do the recording and of the podcast, and then we go for dinner, and it's always like that day is one, like we do it twice a month or so record, and that those days I super much look forward to because I get to spend time with some great people, really.
So let's go back to the router.
Sure.
It's my thing to just go off in directions. I have
No.
to remind myself to stay within the certain bounds. I've been like that. Like, you probably shouldn't watch my streams, but those who do know that sometimes I will forget to do the topic and just talk for 10-20 minutes.
Look, it's perfectly fine. It's your podcast, so
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want, really.
But since on YouTube, you tell a lot of stuff on YouTube, like
Yes.
like a lot of how much things cost. But I actually wanna know, like, just completely hardware, without work, without any of that, how much would such a device cost? And we're not talking about we're talking about production costs of like for hardware, in terms of like actual sale, like tens thousands of finished units, if not more.
So, are you asking how much our device costs in particular?
I'm mostly talking about in general. I'm talking in general, so we can get like a general look at how much this kind of a device would cost, like whether it be a router, really, like anything like with this kind of equipment inside, like
Yeah.
ARM CPU and all that.
Yeah. So, the price varies like a lot on two factors. One factor obviously is quality/performance. So, is it good enough or is it good?
Yeah.
That's like, and they're like as further apart as you can get, right? I spoke with one. Actually spoke with the manufacturer of routers that they sell to telecom as well, right? And he was like, "Yeah, so our this chip, I'll make it up. I don't remember. It was 2 years ago by this point, but he said, the RAM chips that they put on, that they are of not of any known manufacturer, so just some random cheap ass RAM chips that they can find in China, and those those routers have like 265 megabytes of RAM, right? Which is cents, right? A chip
Yeah.
costs cents. We, on the other hand, have Micron RAM chips of
Nice.
so it's 3200 DDR4 300 3200 mega transfers per second. Our one RAM chip costs, let's round it to around $10 to $12. We have 5 of them because we support ECC as well. So our RAM alone costs more than their whole device, right?
Yeah.
It's, but we want our device to not be replaced in half a year, but in 15 years you'll be amazed. Wow, this is still fucking going strong, right? This
Yeah.
is what we're aiming at. So obviously, that also comes at a price, right? So in our case in particular, so our PCB at so before I tell you the price, the second part is to that equation is the volume, right?
Of
Economies
course,
of
yes.
scale. So if you purchase 10 units, they're gonna be 10 times more expensive per unit as opposed if you buy 10,000 units, right? And it's
Yeah.
I'm not making it up. The sorry,
I-
the numbers go down like when you purchase large quantities, but and if you purchase large quantities throughout so over and over and over, then you have huge negotiating power. And I've
yeah.
heard this I won't tell who it's from, but they literally, so this company also in the same appliance space, let's say, they started selling so many that after a year, the owner of the company flew to Taiwan, where the devices were manufactured, negotiated 30% discount, or like lower price, not discount, lower price
Yeah.
permanently. They agreed to it. A year later, because their business grew and they started ordering even more, and we're talking here tens of thousands of units,
Yes.
right? He went again and again negotiated 30% on top of those 30 that he already negotiated, right? So
Yeah.
which means that the device was half cheaper to for them to pay to the
Yeah.
manufacturer, right?
Yeah.
So to get back to your original question, so our boards at 1,000 units currently cost just shy of 300 euros to
Okay. So
manufacture.
the reason I asked this is like this is actually a personal question I wanted to ask somebody who has an actual knowledge in this, because I keep getting into discussions with family and friends in regards to prices of electronic devices, how they for example, whether it be a phone or a laptop or any kind of device, how they cost to manufacture 0.1 keep telling me it costs 0.1% to manufacture.
No,
And I was
no.
like, of course not. Like if you, and like especially with something like CPUs or phones where you basically make one single device and then just go, this one doesn't work as well, let's put it into a cheaper one. Of course they can go a bit more expensive on that, and of course doesn't that Snapdragon doesn't cost few dollars, even if Samsung orders millions of them, because it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, for like I get a lot of stories from Aljaž, my co-founder now, who's making the route with me. He was the one that designed the hardware, right? He used to work for ASML. ASML, for those that don't know, ASML makes machines that TSMC then uses to
Yes,
produce modern
the
CPUs, all of them.
only provider of such machines.
Yes, and they're done they're built in Netherlands. And
Yeah.
Aljaž used to develop power supply. He was part of the team that was developing power supply for the machine that just got out on the market. It's only the TSMC who's the client for that. So it's called EXC 5000, if I'm not mistaken. So he was part of the team that was developing the power supplies. This machine costs 300 to 500 million
Yes.
to one of
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And TSMC orders about 10 per year or so,
Yes.
right? So in order for that machine to pay for itself, not just pay for itself, but to make money to the owner, the CPUs, even it's silicon. The raw materials isn't that rare or expensive or special.
Yes, like
It's
raw
the
materials
machine.
do cost little. Like
Yeah.
if everybody had their own production environment, and yes, it would cost them a few dollars to get the raw materials. Their raw materials are cheap. Problem is that you have to then do work on those raw materials.
Yes, exactly. And they have to produce thousands of millions of chips even for them to be even to pay for themselves, let alone do
Yes.
the margins.
And
But
and problem is that also there isn't a perfect yield.
yes, Yeah. Plus, yeah, not all of it. I mean, they've been their chips,
Yes,
right? So they can
yes,
still get out.
that's the point. Like,
Yeah.
if let's say you put on, I don't know, 8 cores, if 2 of those cores don't work, it can be a lower tier CPU.
Yeah, you sell 6 cores and then you still make money. Exactly.
Yes.
And then and this is my personal philosophy when it comes to price. You can always get it cheaper. Let the Chinese do it.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that mentality. I'm well aware I'm in a very privileged position where I can not or when I can prefer Western articles, Western products, right? I fully realize that. But Temu, for example, they tried many times now to sponsor my channels. I think practices like Temu are like don't want to say cancer to society because that's over exaggerating, but
Yeah.
like if we just do the cheapest possible or purchase the cheapest possible variants on then your mom and pops will go out of business, then
Yeah.
all the companies in this region will go out of business. We simply
It,
we cannot
it's not
allow ourselves to for the whole
it's not
civilization.
sustainable.
Exactly, it's
And
not.
and just a quick off topic. Where
Yeah,
will your device be produced?
it's in Slovenia.
Nice.
So there is an exception, and that is the PCB itself.
Yes.
The PCB itself is done in China, but let me clarify before you judge.
They are better at
Yeah,
they're far cheaper, and they have the capacity to do it at a
actually,
scale numbers.
there's one misconception here. They can be cheaper, but they are not. And let me explain.
Huh.
If you want to achieve high quality products that will serve you for a long time, so if you want quality, you will
Yes.
pay for Chinese manufacturing just as well, well,
Yes.
almost just as well as you would if the products were made in Europe.
Yes.
The differences are only big in trash that we buy or order. But
Yeah.
if you want high, like our PCB, the thing is, and I can tell this from personal experience. We've done for another project years ago. We manufactured PCBs here in Slovenia. There are a couple of companies that can do, and I'm not talking about chips, just the plastic substrate,
Yeah.
right, for the
The
PCB. Yeah.
the
So
silicon
yeah, the
silicon
not
plastic,
not the FR4
silicon
material.
plastic and copper. That is
Yeah, copper
that
and
consists
plastic.
of PCB.
Yeah. Just the raw PCBs. In Slovenia, they charged us approximately the same amount as if we were ordering them from China, but some Chinese companies have done this for so long, they've gotten incredibly good at it. So the boards that we do get from China for our routers are top quality. Plus, we purchase them through a company that guarantees quality. They are Europeans. They are here in. I think they're located in the. Actually, they have a Slovenian office as well, right? So they go to China. They pick they're middlemen essentially. However, and which makes it more expensive, obviously. But the
Yeah.
benefit is that they guarantee quality because I can call them and speak in Slovenian and tell them to, fix whatever is wrong, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. Plus, they've been doing this for decades now. This company that I'm talking about that are supplying us with PCBs, so they guarantee whoever ends up doing it will be according to our specs and in high standard, and it will be just the same price as if done in Europe, honestly, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not always. So it's a misconception. China or their products are not always cheaper. If you want high quality, they will be similar in price.
Yeah. I remember I read somewhere some article that to get that China has, like, companies in China have like special lines for West because they need so much more quality control to actually go to the West then.
Yeah. And I have a couple of friends that are also in different kinds of businesses that they do manufacture stuff in China. So, but they also, yeah, they go, they have offices in China because some of them have bigger companies. So they have their own like Slovenian managers. I actually have a good friend that lived there for a year because he was a floor manager in a Chinese subsidiary, because the fact of the matter is still that workforce is cheaper there, and workforce for any company is like, this is why most companies do, outsource to, I don't know, Malaysia, Vietnam and whatnot.
Yeah.
Workforce is a huge cost to the company.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm personally, if you ask me where we're going with our routers, if the market will support that, because if the market doesn't support it, then you can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
But I do, like, my vision is to produce as much stuff here locally in Slovenia as possible, right? Because Slovenia has, like, I'm not, patriotic in any way, but I do believe that my neighborhood or community has some brilliant minds that can do great things, and I want to
Yeah.
hire them or work with them in any way to support what they're doing, to support their skills, to uplift them, right? Because rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my dream. But that means that we will have to sell our devices a bit more expensive, but I'm not talking 1 to 10 here. I'm talking 10%, or even there and we take some less of a margin if we can. Like, obviously we'll have to prove that it's sustainable, but
Of course.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned people, that's the thing. It's to get the end price of a product. It's not just raw materials or materials you put into the device. It is the production. It is the people who then support, people who do everything, from whether it be sales, whether it be support, whether it be production. All of that need to be accounted in the price of a product, like whether it be a phone, whether it be a router, whether it be a desktop, whether it be a server, or even a clock you put on a wall. Everything needs to have people accounted for.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, you have to pay them a wage.
Yeah. And plus, if you have, especially in our, how do you call it, our industry, or our niche, like, a really good hardware designer / developer for electronic circuits, they cost money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, like, they cost 10 grand a month, 120 grand a year at least.
Yeah.
Right? Or even more so where Aljaž lives. Aljaž lives in Eindhoven, the Netherlands. Like, that's European Silicon Valley. Like, people there cost, 120 to 150K a year. Like, but you want them. I do want them. That
Yes.
Because I always, like, if there's one thing I learned I learned many things at Codable, but one of them that's also important is also you want always to hire smarter people than yourself, because if you do so, then the average IQ always goes up.
Yeah.
You
have to pick right people, and problem is many times right people cost money.
Exactly. Yes, that is also true.
And like, whether it be like, I know from software development, like how much things can cost, but especially if you sell hardware, you have to then also account for things breaking, because warranty is a thing. Warranty.
Yeah.
Well, I at this point I'm very lucky. My laptop broke 1 month before warranty expired. So I got a whole cooling replacement.
Then I have a interesting story from that. My wife actually, so our car, like, the display in our car broke
The
a
infotainment
week.
system.
Yeah, a week, literal fucking week after the warranty expired. And my wife went there and just yelled at those guys. My wife, she's like, she's a nice woman, don't get me wrong, but when somebody pushes the wrong buttons, I guess, then she'll do some magic. So she went there and did her magic by yelling at them, and they replaced the infotainment free of charge.
Nice. I was like, I remember I was actually looking for papers. Did I buy this laptop before or after uh, start of February? Because that's
Yeah.
when I was like, and then I found out I got it on my birthday,
Okay. Yeah.
which was like, yeah, I didn't even buy it for birthday. I actually got it got it because I needed a laptop for work. So
Yeah.
they bought it for me here in Slovenia because they were an American company. They were like, we won't be sending you a laptop. Buy it yourself and give us
Yeah. We'll
the
reimburse it. Yeah.
papers.
Mm,
And that was it. And
yeah.
now it's my laptop since I got laid off.
The one thing I'm looking around, I can't see it right now. It pissed me off the other day. One of my lights, YouTube Studio lights, died, and I sent them an email to the company, and it's out of warranty for like half a year. Yeah, we can we can look at it. Like the light costs 300 euros, right? It's not the end of the world, but 300 is also not that small amount. So they said, yeah, but you have to send it to the Netherlands where they have their support office, and there's an $80 or €80 inspection fee on top of shipping, on top of on top of the repair that they do is the fee, right? So it's like, okay, at that point to ship it back, it'll be like 200 euros. Like,
Yes.
I mean, what the and it's a company it's a brand. Like I on purpose bought a brand, like not some
Yeah.
cheap ass shit that was supposed to work for years, not just 2.5. A studio light has no business of going out of business in 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
And it pissed me off. So Aljaž will fix it for me. He knows how to do that.
Like I remember like a couple of years ago I bought myself an Samsung S21 FE.
Yeah.
Like an really it's the cheapest top of the line Samsung model.
Yeah.
And I was like I like broke it. I broke the screen. I was like, Mom, maybe I should replace this thing because like replace the screen because why
Yeah.
have a broken screen, especially because I was going to the it was middle of summer, so I was going to the coast, and I
Yeah.
wanted to have my phone in the water while I lay on something in the water and float around. So if it
Yeah.
falls in the water, I'm not like my phone is dead.
Yeah.
And I was looking at things like they were like just to fix it, even despite it being basically free of charge to fix because I paid that monthly thing for it.
Yeah.
You're gonna cost 75 euros to fix because that's the charge for that to all to go through. I was like, yeah, no, this is like quarter of what I paid for the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, show me your newest models. And I bought a new phone because why would I go and do that?
Yeah.
Because like I bought myself a really, really good phone. I was like many times more than 75, but that phone I'm not gonna be replacing for another 3-4 years now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is why I always go, like, I'm obviously, it's probably surmised by now, I'm on iPhones. So
Yeah.
I always, like, but they're really good, they're really durable. They last a long time. Like, I would replace it every 5 years, literally, almost literally. So I started with iPhone 4, then I had a 6, then I had a 10, and now I'm on 15. So this is my,
Yeah.
fourth. And honestly, I don't really think. Well, I know I won't buy a new one anytime soon. This one is just almost 2 years old. It'll be good for another 3 years years at least, right? And then I pass them on to my kids or friends or whoever wants to take it. So they can still work. Like they usually need some love or cleaning at least. But yeah, I like when things are durable.
The S21 FE is still my backup.
Yeah.
And I still use it quite regularly for things. When I was out of the laptop, I plugged it into the monitor. I have USB Type C connection, and I switched it to its DeX mode, where like basically like a desktop.
Yeah.
And I used it like that.
Yeah.
I was
Of
like,
course.
why not? Like,
Yeah.
why would I take apart my new setup, which is at the time just put together the remote stuff and all? Why would I put it apart when I have couple of devices I can use as host devices?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in reality, every new device, that comes off of a assembly line is e-waste
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah.
So the longer you can make it not e-waste, the better.
Yeah.
You know?
These days I buy if I choose phones for my family members, specifically my mom and dad, because
Yeah.
I also maintain them.
Mm-hmm.
So I very much pick the same manufacturers I have. So
Of course.
I am now on Samsung, so they are both on Samsung.
Yeah, because it's the easiest, obviously. Yeah.
Like I was setting up my sister's phone. She has a Xiaomi now, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, it is different enough for me to just go, I have to find things.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be the IT guy of the family.
See, I have an iPhone. My wife has an iPhone. All my 4 kids have iPhones. Exact same thing in exact same spot always.
Yes, yes. Okay, for the reason I also buy them Samsung is because I bought them a Samsung tablet.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
have the practically the same interface
Yeah,
on
they're used to
everything.
it. Yeah.
They're used to it. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna be, and I'm gonna when I have to buy my replacement devices, it's gonna be Samsung. I see they make good devices.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
My mom, her phone is now like older than my S21, and it just started to be enough pain on the ass to think about maybe replacing it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like sooner or later those devices all become e-waste. But
Yeah.
that's a circle of sooner or later everything breaks. Yeah, it could be more fixable. Let's be honest. Like, if you look at laptops, Framework is doing something
Good.
really, really amazing. Despite I'm not gonna be buying them, I think that they would need, like, I my Dell has like basically no bezel. I fell in love with that, and I look at that Framework like, this is too big of a bezel. I cannot do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is superficial. It is completely irrelevant to a laptop, but it's still like it. I'm used to that.
Listen, I like what framework guys are doing, but I'm not the kind of person, I guess, to upgrade things.
Yes,
Like
me neither.
like I owned I probably assembled 50 or even 100 PCs in my life, for me, my friends, whatnot, and I've never upgraded a single PC. Like, I'll just keep it unless it's no longer fast enough. Then I never sold one. I always give them away, because by the point, or give now that I have kids, I give them to my kids, obviously. So my one kid gets that has the oldest one gets my old one, and then we give it to charity to somebody who can't afford it, right? Their older computer, which is pretty old at that point.
Yeah.
And this is how we pass the devices forward. But I've never, like, once I'm ready to upgrade, I just get a full new PC. Period. Like, never. Maybe I've added like, if I needed an extra drive, I did with NVMe's. You can do that. It's pretty obvious and easy. And that's the only thing. When I need more storage, I insert one more NVMe drive. That's it. That's all my upgrades.
I do the same thing. Like, I built my last PC, which is now still would be my main desktop if I didn't turn it into a server.
Yeah.
But what I built it not because I was like to upgrade or to do this or that, like to be the hardware play with hardware. I built it because I wanted a very specific thing, and it in Slovenia it's hard to get that kind of specificity in pre-built devices. I needed lots of cores, and automatically when you get lots of cores, you're gonna automatically be paired up with a big GPU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a 3060 Ti.
Yeah.
I don't need more. Like,
Yeah.
I play games, but I'm okay with playing them at low or normal settings. And 1080p is all I play at because I have 1080p screens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need
I'm a bit more demanding. I like my 4K content.
Well, I'm gonna say it this way. I haven't switched it to 4K for the same reason. I don't go and buy top of the top food, like go to big or expensive restaurants, because I don't want to get used to that. I wanna maintain on this cheap stuff, because then I know I won't have to pay as much.
That's a good mindset, actually. Having some not I don't know what the English term is. Be a bit more laid back.
Frugal.
Frugal
And
yeah.
laid back and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
for example, like I just when I bought this computer, I bought first mechanical keyboard, like a completely basic Logitech mechanical keyboard. I used to live on the most basic Logitech membrane keyboard, the one that every office has in so much abundance they could give away, and they would still have too many.
I cannot relate here. I'm a keyboard snob, definitely. Yeah. Like mine is like fully aluminum, like with an artisan keycap. I want these keyboards to work for. I won't use it. I'll get how do you call it, like bored of it, and I want a different one. But then somebody else will be really happy to receive it as a gift, probably at some point. So I'm I even designed and manufactured my own keyboard. So I know
this is mine, and it's missing keys because the stems broke, or the part the key part the part that goes onto that.
Might come over. I have it. I have it all. Just come over. I have everything you need to fix that.
I was like, all I need is for keyboard to work. I don't really care, as long as I can type on it. That's my thing. Like, and let's be real. On some days I literally unplug my laptop and I go sit somewhere else, because I don't feel like typing on this keyboard, and I feel like typing on my laptop, and I will type on laptop, and I'm just as good, and I just feel just as fine. That keyboard don't bother me. Like, there are things that I will get obsessive about, like mouse not having a cable. That I'll get obsessive over.
Yeah.
I freaking hate cables on mices.
Oh, it's been years.
I obsess over those details. Or
this one is for, it's dirty, but this one is for gaming, and this one is one work. So I have
nice.
special mice for different purposes. So absolutely.
And I but like, and then like I obsessed over headphones. What headphones I'm gonna buy, and because and I now have Bluetooth headphones. I don't have a problem with a bit of delay and all that. Like when I'm editing, all I do is it has a cable, and I can plug it in, and I can that scrubbing and part that I need to do during the edit. But otherwise, like I like it more because like I used to have a long ass cable, so it could be like to reach the computer and all that, and I was like, so many times I drove over it with my wheels on my chair.
Yeah. Well, I have too small office for that. But what I wanted to say, when it comes to hardware, any really, I've always been this way. I would save up for as long as I had to buy the best device possible in that category. Best device. There's always better off. You can go, but the best device I could afford, and then save up some more to get one step better, and then I would buy that. And I have, like, before I used to buy, for like you said, headphones, right? I would have some, I don't know, generic USB headphones. they would fall apart in 6 months, right?
Yes, yes.
And I would pay every 6 months. I would pay, I don't know, for the sake of the argument, 50, 60 euros for them, right? And then after 3 years, I was like, okay, I've spent 300 euros on trash headphones over 3 years, or it's an example. Why don't I save up 300, 400? These one were 450, I think. Why don't I save up? And it took me quite a while to save up. And now for the past 5 years, I've had this, and they're like new still, like no issues with them. Work perfectly. I absolutely love them. They will be with me for the foreseeable future, right?
Yeah.
Well, unless until my kids steal them from me. But yeah, I rather go and wait and save up and then go all in on that one thing. And then I'm also solving one of my own personal issues, if you will. Like, I get obsessed with research a lot, right? So
Yeah, okay.
and then if
too.
something breaks for me, I will get obsessed and I will spend days or even weeks over this shit. But if I buy something that is really good and I know will last for 5, 6 to 10 years, then I just do this research once and I'm done with it, and my silly brain gets closure and I'm done with that, right?
Yeah, like when I was buying myself this desktop, I was like, I obsessed over every piece, which hardware to get,
Yeah.
because I was like, I had set parameters. Now all I need to do is within those set parameters, and I do admit I did overspend on one component. I bought myself 64 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
I never went over 32.
Okay.
Without going on purpose, like running VMs for no reason, something like that. But now with a server, I'm okay giving a VM 32 gigs of RAM and knowing that the 32 gigs of RAM is still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like this, you have these. I think these were the kind of people who will obsess about things like research or things like that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it takes a special kind of person. I enjoy the journey. Don't get me wrong, but at some point, it's just like you want to stop your brain and say, "Listen, brain, stop it."
Yeah.
You know.
Well, like I have a Dell monitor. Like, should I get a 4K or not? I was like, why? What do you gain by buying 4K? A bit nicer picture and more GPU power to waste. And I bought one with a hub, so now I have a 1080p monitor that all I have to do is plug a USB-C into my laptop, and that's it.
Our router is also, I guess, the consequence of this mentality that I have. I love user experience. Like, I love
Yes.
every part of user experience. So if something doesn't or bothers me, it bothers me more. Like, normal people would just say, fuck it, and throw it away or buy something else or give up on some. I'm not. I cannot help myself. I will dig until I find the perfect outcome for the user experience, right? So be it headphones or speakers or monitors or technology, because that's my, I don't know, a soft spot for that. But I will look for the best possible user experience. That's my number one. And even with our router that we're working, we're not there yet. We're not even close yet. But that's where we, like, how can we, at every point we're asking ourselves, how can we give to people best possible user experience? And like, look, it's not just when it comes to the interfaces. User experience is everything.
Yes.
You get a device, you unbox it, there's your, even before that, if you order it, how fast can you get it is an experience point, so to speak, right? How can you return it if something goes wrong? Who can you turn to if something goes wrong? When you the unboxing of the device, the use of the device, the disposal of the device. Yeah, exactly. it's all user experience, and I love when things work for me, not against me,
Yeah.
in the devices that I purchase. So I want, like, and we're far away from that, obviously, but we are working towards it. So how can we manufacture a router that will be, that will be well supported, well documented, well boxed, so the unboxing experience will be great, fast shipped, like the interface will be great, the support will be there. Like, how can we make the user experience, there's no such thing as perfect, but as good as possible,
Yeah.
right?
Like, I as a developer, I look at things like at whether it be in devices. Does it have documentation? Does it have good manuals, good documentation? If it doesn't, I will go away from that, because to me that's as a developer, that's a huge part of my user experience,
Yeah,
because I want to use it the way I want to. So
exactly.
I might want to either hook into it, or like know exactly what's going on, or how exactly I can use this device, or a program, or a library.
Yeah.
I need, and if it doesn't have that, why would I use it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But, it's also worth mentioning that there's also a specific target group that you're always targeting. Like,
Of course.
not everybody cares, or, like, there are some, I don't, as an example, like a machine that only, I don't know, a doctor uses, like a, medicine doctor kind of, then you uh, tailor it to their use
Yeah.
case and make it a good experience for them, and you nor me would know the last thing how to use that device, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all in the target market, or
Yeah.
target audience, to put it better.
This was part one of the amazing discussion slash interview with Tomaž Zaman about his router and some other things. Join us next week for part two of the discussion, where we talk about some more about his router and open source and some other things. Before I let you go, check out the mine and Josh's YouTube channels. You can find the links and many other links in the description or show notes. You can contact us via the email contact@taxbase.com, which both of us should receive the email and be able to answer. You can also contact us directly over social media, like Mastodon, which should be found in the description or show notes, or right below me right now. And if you want to support the podcast, you can check out our Patreon, where you get access to things like higher bitrate and, of course, the pre-show. I think that's it. I think that's all the links I should have told you guys about. So, yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you next week for the next part of the discussion. Goodbye.